Alright, so for your video review, the first thing you want to see is, do you have your green calendar with your formulas, and do you have some highlighters? Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these. I'm going to solve with you, some of these I'm going to solve for you, some of these you should just be able to do on your own. Okay, so in number 1 you have 2 points, you have T and you have J. So you need to be able to calculate TJ, which is the distance. So you should be using the distance formula. The midpoint, you should be using the midpoint formula. I'm going to do the midpoint together because a lot of us have not been doing this correctly. So you want to do 3 plus negative 2. And if you put that in parentheses, then you can use your calculator. That equals 3 plus negative 2 is 1. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. And then you also have 9 plus 8 in parentheses divided by 2. 9 plus 2 is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. So therefore my midpoint is 0.5, 8.5. Okay? And then my slope is y2, so 8 minus y1 minus 9 over negative 2 minus 3. And 8 minus 9 is negative 1. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. And then you have to simplify, and that simplifies to 1/5. Okay, if you needed to do it on your calculator, you could do negative 1 divided by negative 5, math, enter, enter. So you will get 1 point for getting the distance, 1 point for getting the midpoint, and 1 point for getting the slope. If you show your work and still get it wrong, you at least get half credit. Okay? Moving on to number 2, you have Miss Wheeler and Miss Bailey. We each live a specific distance away from Washington, D.C. So I would put D.C. right in the center. Okay, and I'm going to do Miss Wheeler lives 22 miles north. Okay, and then 25 miles east. This is just a sketch. And then I live 15 miles south and 19 miles west. So I think if you want to put a W for Miss Wheeler, a B for Miss Bailey, the question says, as the crow flies, so imagine you're a crow, to the nearest tenth of a mile, how far away is Miss Bailey from Miss Wheeler? Okay, so here you're just doing Pythagorean theorem. So you need to find that side, which is the hypotenuse. 22 squared plus 25 squared equals c squared. And it says to the nearest tenth, so whatever you get, you want to round it to the nearest decimal. And then for me, you have to do 15 squared plus 19 squared equals my c squared. Okay, and then for me, you should get, I'm about 24.2 miles away. Miss Wheeler is about 33.3 miles away. So as the crow flies, you have to add 24.2 plus 33.3, and that would be your final answer. So you will get a point if you can get that right. Please circle your answer. All right, number 3, looking at mid-segments. That's our most recent topic. So in order to find x, what I would first do is identify 33 as the mid-segment, TR is the base, and PA is the base. So you know your mid-segment equals the average of your bases. So 2x minus 3 plus 3x plus 9 divided by 2. So before we do anything, it will be a good idea if we combine those terms, since they all can be combined. We have 33 equals 2x plus 3x, 5x. Negative 3 plus 9 is 6 divided by 2. Okay, now you got to get rid of that divide by 2. So multiply both sides by 2. Gone, gone. 2 times 33 is 66 equals 5x plus 6. Alright, so you should be able to solve this and get an x equals. I believe when I solve that, you should get a nice positive number. Right, and then from here, you have to find TR. So you would have to substitute your x in, and PA, you'd have to substitute your other x in. So you'll get a point for finding x, a point for TR, and a point for PA. Okay? Alright, flipping over to number 4, if the points 3, 9 and negative 3, 9 are the endpoints of the diameter of a circle. Okay, so here is my circle. It's not that good, but we have 3, 9 and negative 3, 9. Okay, so the question says, to the nearest hundredth, which means 2 decimals, what is the radius? Well, right now, we could find the diameter using the distance formula. So if you need to make that note, you're going to use the distance formula. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 3 minus 3 squared plus 9 minus 9 squared. And you should get the square root of 36, which is 6. So my diameter is 6, which means my radius is half of 6, which is 3. And since it's a whole number, you don't need to round it. So you will also get a point for that one, which you basically should get that one correct. Alright, 5A, B, and C. Finding distance, midpoint, and slope again. This is basic skills that you need to be able to do. So 1 point for the distance, 1 point for the midpoint, 1 point for the slope. I'll give you a hint. This is positive, this has a negative, and this is positive. Okay? Alright, moving on to number 6. Alright, the points 5, 9, and negative 7 are the endpoints of the diameter of a circle. So here is my ugly circle again. 5, 9, and negative 7, 7. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is find the center. The center is going to be right about there, which means we can use the midpoint formula. Okay, so 5 plus negative 7 divided by 2 equals negative 1. And then 9 plus 7 divided, it's negative 7. 9 plus negative 7 divided by 2 is 1. So my center is negative 1, 1. Okay, now what we could do is we could use our center to find the radius. Okay, so you could find that length right there. So I would use the distance formula. And let's see what happens. So if I do negative 7 minus 5 squared plus negative 7 minus 9 squared. Let me get my calculator. Okay. So that means this is 20. So my radius is 20. Okay? So when you go to write your equation is x minus the center, but minus negative 1 is the same as plus 1 squared, plus y minus the y coordinate of the center equals r to the second power, which is 400. Okay? All right, so you'll get a point for having each one. Okay, number 7, look at the circle graph. All right, the center is right there for you. You really need to be able to identify that point. Okay, it's -3, -2, the radius would be 1, 2, 3. So my equation would be x minus -3 squared plus y minus -2 squared equals r to the second power. So I'll be checking to make sure you got that. You get 1 point for the center, 1 point for the radius, 1 point for the equation. Okay, number 8, if the distance between points L and A is 7, and L is at -2, -3, A is at x4, what are the values of x? So your distance, so 7 equals my x minus -2, same thing as x plus 2, squared, plus 4 minus -3, which is the same thing as 4 plus 3, squared. All I did was take my numbers, substitute it into the distance formula. Okay? 7 equals the square root of x plus 2 squared, and then 4 plus 3 is 7, and then 7 squared is 49. Next thing you're going to do is now you're going to square both sides to get rid of the square root. So we know 49 equals x plus 2 squared plus 49. Subtract 49 from both sides. So the only numbers, we only have one answer this time, because we have to figure out x plus 2 equals 0, so x equals -2. Okay, so you'll get 1 point for having the answer, but I'm also going to give you 1 point for having work. Okay? Alright, number 9 is A is the midpoint of segment SB. So I'm going to give you 1 point if you draw that picture, because A is the midpoint of segment SB. And A is at -9, -10, and S is at -1, -9. You have to find the coordinates of B. Okay, so you know -1 plus some x divided by 2 has to get me to -9. Multiply both sides by 2. -1 plus x equals -18. Solve for x. Okay, then you have 9 plus some y divided by 2 has to get you to -10. Multiply both sides by 2, and you get your y. Okay, so when I check this, I will be giving you a point for the picture. I'm going to give you a point for the x and a point for the y. Okay? Alright, number 10, you have a trapezoid. You need to find the mid-segment. Okay? So the nice thing is that it's isosceles, which means those two non-base sides are equal. So make those your 12, your 16, and your 19, and then you want to find the mid-segment. So, mid-segment equals base plus base divided by 2. And I will give you a point if you have the picture and a point if you have the right answer. Because if they don't give you a picture, you probably should draw one. Okay? Alright, number 11. Look at the triangle below. SB is the mid-segment. So you know the mid-segment, 2x, equals the base divided by 2. Okay, so you have to solve this. Multiply both sides by 2. 4x equals 10x minus 21. I will be checking 1 point for that because it's a basic solving equation. All right, 12. There's your equation of the circle. Okay, so your center is what makes this 0. So that would be the opposite of positive 7 and the opposite of positive 8. The radius, they give you r squared, so you have to take the square root of 64. 8. Area. Area equals pi r squared. Pi 8 squared. Circumference. C equals 2 pi r. So 2 pi 8, 16 pi. Okay? 13. Here's your equation of the circle. You have to determine if you're in, which means you'll be less than 9, on, which means you're equal 9, or greater than, which means you'll be outside. So you take those points and sub into the equation. 0 squared plus 6 minus 3 squared equals, what does that equal? 6 minus 0 squared, 9. So since 9 equals 9, it's on. Okay? So when you do this, you will not get full credit if you don't show your work. So if you just have in, out, on, I need to see your work. So this one would be 1 squared plus 1 minus 3 squared. You get a number. You need to compare it to 9. All right, last but certainly not least, you have the equation for the circle. All right, and we need to complete the square because we can't tell the center from that part. X squared plus 14x plus something, okay, plus y squared minus 12y plus something, and I'm going to get that equal, I'm going to get the 4 to the other side already. So negative 4 plus a red something that goes with my x's, and a purple something that completes my y's. Alright, so to get my x something, you have to do 14 divided by 2, which is 7, 7 squared, which is 49. Okay, so now that would be x plus 7 squared. And then for the y's, it would be negative 12 divided by 2, which is negative 6 squared, positive 36. 36, I forgot to put my something over here. Okay, and then you have plus, this one's going to be y minus 6 squared equals, I believe that would be negative, oh my gosh, that's something I put in the wrong spot. That 14 should be a 49. Maybe, hopefully you caught that. Maybe you even told me already. Alright, so negative 4 plus 49 plus 36, I believe is 91. Let me just do a double check. Hopefully you're following along. Oh, it's 81. Okay? Which means the center is going to be the opposite of 7, negative 7, the opposite of negative 6, positive 6, and your radius, so r squared is 81, so take the square root, r is 9, but the diameter is 2 times 9, 18. Okay, so I'll give you a point for getting A, and a point for getting B, and a point for showing all your work. So that concludes your practice test. Hopefully you have something else to do. Don't be disruptive. That would be appreciated.